Hi everyone, I'm Ms. Dalibeth Murillo from 𝑭𝑶𝑹1B. So my science topic is to discuss about based on a structural standpoint of an ecosystem. First is abiotic components. When we say abiotic components, muna siya ang nagrepresents by all non-living entities, include temperature, light, and water. And temperature, muna siya nag-controlling the rate of processes inside an organisms. In general, most important internal reactions to a higher body temperature na dito ang low or higher temperature of an environmental. So, there are the groups of organisms which fundamentally belong in a relationship of body temperature. First is poikilotherms. When we say poikilotherms, mono sila ang mga cold-blooded organisms. Just like vertebrate animals, specifically mga fish, amphibians, and reptiles na nagpuyo sa mga cold. And next is homeotherms. When we say homeotherms, mono sila ang warm-blooded organisms. Like for example, sa kabaliktaran niya sa poikilotherms. Kaya ang homeotherms, mono sila ang mga warm-blooded organisms. Exist in all mammals and birds. And also in mga reptiles, fish, insects, and plants. Next is heterotherms. Ang heterotherms, muna sila ang mga nag-manage to combine some of the advantages of homeotherapy. When we say heterotherms, muna sila ang mga bats and hummingbirds. When we say bats, mga sila sato pa kagi. Muna sila ang nabilong sa heterotherms. So let's move to the another topic about the light. So another part of abiotic components is light. Light is a kind of radiation, specifically the visible wavelengths of electromagnetic radiation. So ang light is important for human, animals, and plants. And there's ecological aspects of light. When we say ecological aspects, mao na siya ang light energy that affects water temperature, biological process such as a relationship between predators and prey, and also plant photosynthesis and growth. So, first is tolerance. Tolerance is ability of an organism to survive and grow under the canopy or shade, lower light intensity, and also a high humidity. Also, it is moderate temperature and reduced wind actions. Next is photoperiodism. Photoperiodism man siyang nag-refers to the length of light and dark portions of the 24-hour a day. Muna siya ang ecological aspects of light. So, the following classes of organisms according to daily cycles of rhythms. Sa atoa karon sa in earth, there are mga organisms nga nabilong sa day, night, and also napoy mga other organisms nga naay night and day pero na sila'y kalahian. Kini first is journal organisms. Journal organisms mo na siyang organisms na active in daylight. Like for examples, mammals, birds, and reptiles. Mo na siya ang mga one of the organisms sa journal organisms. Para ng dog, cat, human, also nabilong po na siya sa journal organisms. And next is nocturnal organisms. Mo ni siya ang active in night. Like for examples, bats, owls, wolves, mo na siya ang mga nabilong sa nocturnal organisms. Next is crepuscular organisms. Mo na siya ang organisms nga that are active at day at dawn. Active ni siya, different ni siya sa nocturnal and diurnal organisms. They sleep at night and lay low during weekday. Kanang like for example, snakes, lizards, tiger, bunnies, mo na siya ang mga organisms nga nabilong sa crepuscular organisms. So, next is fire. Fire mo na siya ang ingon nga sungsato pa, a natural phenomenon associated with man. Pero daghan mga ecologists nga regarded as a fire a destructive unnatural phenomenon. But some ecologists says that they believe that fire is a natural part of the environment and it is useful, even necessary tool in managing some ecosystem. There are 3 types of fire. First is surface fire, ground fire, and crown fire. Surface fire mo na siya ang a fire that sweeps rapidly over the ground, consuming litter and herbs, often killing the above. Like for example, kanang imong sinilhig or imong kanang nalang sa babaw sa yuta, mao nang gitawag nga kung imo nang sunugon mo na siyang gitawag na surface fire. Ang ground fire mo na siya ang fire nga flameless fire, and it is subterranean that turns slowly for long periods. Ground fire ang pagkasunog niya is nasa ilalom. Kanang inanay pagkasunog, kanang parang pagkasunog, like for example, kanang ugat sa tanom, masunog apel ang ugat sa tanom, mao nang giingon nga ground fire. Ang crown fire mo na siya ang fire na nag-spreads rapidly through the canopy of plants. Mo na siya ang fire na mulapaw na sa plants o sa mga trees. So mao na ang tulo ka klase nga fire: ang surface fire, ground fire, o ang crown fire. So,
good morning everyone, my name is 𝑭𝑭𝑁 from 𝑭𝑶𝑹𝑬𝑺𝑻. Our topic for today is all about pollution. Pollution is the unfavorable modification of the environment by man's activities. 2 basic types of pollution. First, non-biodegradable pollutants or DMALATA. It refers to materials and poisons such as aluminum cans, mercurial salt, long-chain phenolic chemical, and etc. that either cannot be decomposed or can be very slowly decomposed in the natural environment. Just like mga lata, mga cellophane. Second is biodegradable pollutants or malata. It refers to pollutants such as domestic sewage that can be rapidly decomposed by natural processes or in engineered system that enhance nature's great capacity to decompose and recycle, just like paper. The following are the classification of pollution recognized in our environment. Air pollution. There are 5 major pollutants discharged into the atmosphere: carbon monoxide, particulates, sulfur oxides, hydrocarbons, and nitrogen oxides. Its major sources of air pollution, aside from motor vehicles and fuel combustions of electric power plants, industrial processes, and burning into solid waste. Chemical pollutions. Chemical pollution is defined as the presence or increase in our environment of chemical pollutants that are not naturally present there or not found in amounts higher than their natural background values. Noise pollutions. Noise pollutions Noise pollution is considered to be any unwanted or disturbing sound that affects the health and well-being of humans and other organisms. Water pollution. Water pollution degrades of uses of water for human consumption, recreational purposes, wildlife, agriculture, and industry. It also enhances eutrophication, resulting in the aging and clogging the lakes. Land pollution. Land makes possible an establishment of structure which support human activities like housing, settlement, and industrial complexes. It is also the medium through which agriculture productivity is made possible. Thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the rise or fall in the temperature of the natural body of water caused by human influence. Thermal pollution, unlike chemical pollution, result in a change of physical properties of water. That's all. Thank you and God bless.
Good day everyone. I am Summer Kathleen Coquilia Corios from 𝑭𝑶𝑹1B. So today we're going to tackle about moisture. Moisture refers to the amount of water in the soil or in the air. So moisture refers to the amount of water in the soil or in the air and can also refer to the amount of rain that falls on an area at a particular time of year. Whether a piece of land is wet or dry for an organism depends mainly on two factors: soil, moisture, and evaporate power of the air. Humidity decreases, temperature becomes higher, and wind increases as area drier, and so does the species that live there. Humidity is defined as the moisture in the air in the form of vapor expressed in B1. Absolute humidity, the actual mass of water in a certain volume air. Absolute humidity expressed as grams of water vapor per cubic meter volume of air. It is a measure of the actual amount of water vapor or moisture in the air. Regardless of the air's temperature, the higher the amount of water vapor, the higher the absolute humidity. B2, relative humidity, is the amount of water vapor actually in the air, expressed as percentage of the maximum amount of water vapor the air can hold at the same temperature. Plants may be classified according to their relationships on water. Xerophytes, those plants that grow in dry places, or xeric, and categorized into true xerophytes, consist of perennial shrubs with small and hard leaves and resistant to drought. Succulent plants consist of annual plants and watery tissues. Desert ephemeral plants consist of plants growing similar moisture. So, ang xerophytes, those plants is motubora sa mga dry nga places. So, these plants, mauna siyang example. Phreatophytes consist of plants growing in the desert wherein their wiry roots reach the water table. So these are the examples of Phreatophytes plants. Mesophytes, those plants that grow in moist places, or mesic. So, kani nga mga plants motobo or mabuhi ra sa mga moist nga lugar or mesic. Kanang basa-basa, lagkit-lagkit, gamay nga lupa. Like these plants, ano siyang example. Hydrophytes, those plants that grow in wet or watery places. So, those plants motobo ra sa mga basa nga lugar or lupa or hydric nga lugar. Halophytes, those plants that grow in brackish or salty water. So, those plants motobo ra sa mga pakat-pakat nga tubig like ang isa ka example is mangroves. So that's all. Thank you and God bless.
Good day everyone, my name is July Salagora and this is my report. The title of my report is Soil. Soil is the loss of surface and materials, pH, the land which the plant grow. It is composed of fragments and percent of materials, organic or matter in various stages of the breakdown of soil. Water is the minerals and organic compounds dissolved. It is soil of gases and the space of living organisms. Soil is the place of observation. The rule of plant grow from it come. Water is used for transportation and hypothesis. Calcium, lithium, and phosphate, and the other mineral used in manufacture. Values organic and compost. Oxygen is the needs of for respiration, which the plant or any organism dies in the process of decomposition of the soil. Through the activities of the soil, organisms, especially bacteria and fungi, then the use of finally group of organic matter maximize with the materials part of the soil was the produce of eventually minerals and originally taken by the plant's roots and returned to the soil. The soil is the home of many types of animals from the mollusks of salamanders to earthworms of the battle of the protozoans. A. Horizon, the uppermost of layer of topsoil, where the most of the plant's roots located to deep organic matter in the added of the top of meter of it is particularly broken up, maximal as the humes with the mineral soil below. B. Horizon is the organic mineral is largely absent in this layer but of the high quality of the less withered materials from the parent of material. C. Horizon, the consists of the most or less material, the parent of material such as spherical drop or bedrock. The difference in potential and relativity between the light and the heaven soul result from the way of material are returned such minerals as calcium and magnesium, which is turned of the surface of particles of the plant's roots removed from the mineral condition and replaced then without hydrogen. The soil structure and that generally based on the plant's growth contains both the large and the small particles. Combining them provide the described picture and the good water retention, drainage, and duration. Easy roots and temptation and protein high fertility. The soil that we will represent with the both large and small particles. It's called loam. Loam soil are the almost always productive soil. And even the soil made of and sand that they can begin variable structure by adding the organic matter. Knowledge of the importance of humus and soil is not new to technology. Long ago, pioneer American ecology John Weaver and the Frederick and Selimans once obtained the physical effects of mark that when the organic matter represent in the soil is very high and direction between sandy and clay vertically overlaid. That's all. Thank you and God bless everyone.
So another parts of components of an ecosystem is biotic components. Biotic components mo na siyang gitawag nga nagrepresented by living entities in the ecosystem. Like for example, plants, animals, and microorganisms. So there are the three major categories of biotic components. First is producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers are otherwise known as autotrophs. They can make food from simple organic materials like plants. Plants are also the examples of producers because they can use processes of carbon dioxide, water, and some minerals. First, they produce carbohydrates and various organic materials and also oxygen for human. Because oxygen gives human energy. Ngano man ang importante man ang energy. Because energy is a materials involved in the photosynthetic process. Radiant energy of sunlight is converted into compound by the plants. So ang sunlight naghatag og energy sa plant. Tapos ang plant naghatag og energy sa human through oxygen. So mo nang giingon nga producers. They can make their own food. Next is consumers. Consumers mo na siyang known as heterotrophs. Hetero means others and trophs meaning food. Consumers that organisms obtain their food by consuming other organisms. There are the three following consumers based the kind of food consumed. First is primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers, mo na siya ang consumers that obtain their food directly from the green plants. Gitawag din sila og mga herbivore. Mo na siya ang mga consumers na pareha ng ulod, di ba? Ang iyan ang pagkaon through mga leaves sa trees, flower, plants, mga leaves sa vegetables. One examples of consumers, primary consumers. Second is secondary consumers. Muna siyang gitawag nga carnivores. They obtain their food by eating other animals. Pag secondary consumers gani, like for examples, tiger, mukhaon na siya og kaori niya na hayop. Muna siyang secondary consumers. Tertiary consumers, muna siyang They obtain their food by eating those individuals who belong to the category of secondary consumers. Like for examples, human. Di ba ang human mukaon siya og karne, mukaon po siya og gulay. Mo nang examples of tertiary consumers. So, next is decomposers. Decomposers, mo na siya ang organisms nga nag-breakdown of dead or decaying organisms. Decomposers also a carry out of decomposition, a process possible by only certain kingdoms such as fungi, include soil bacteria, worms, flies, and other organisms that break down dead materials or waste products. So, ang decomposers mo na siya ang tigkuha sa mga dead bodies sa animals. Mo na siya mga gitawag nga scavengers. So, producers, mo na siya ang producer ang make their own food. Consumer, mo na siya ang eat other organisms for food, and decomposers mo na siya ang break down dead material. So, I hope you have learned a lot for my topic, and let's hear it from the other reporter.
Good morning everyone, my name is 𝑭𝑁𝒻 from 𝑏sf1b. Our topic for today is all about energy flow. What is energy flow? Energy flow is a flow of energy through living things with an ecosystem. About 30% of the sunlight reaching the Earth's surface is reflected back into the space, and about 50% is absorbed as heat by the ground, vegetation, and water, while 20% is absorbed by the atmosphere, which does not seem to leave much for photosynthesis. In fact, only about 0.02% of the sunlight reaching the atmosphere is used in photosynthesis. Nevertheless, it is this small fraction on which all organisms of the ecosystem depend. Primary. The primary consumers eat green plants. Some of the energy obtained in this way is stored in the growth of the new tissue, but much is used in the repair of tissues, moving around, and other activities like the respiratory energy of plant. This energy eventually converted to heat. Herbivores have much less energy available to them than the plant originally produced in photosynthesis. Herbivores is an animal anatomically and physiologically adapted to eating plants material. For example, cow, goat, horse, panda, and elephant. The energy that a plant uses in respiration is gone. Also, some parts of plant is die before being eaten by herbivores and become food for the decomposers. Rather than for herbivores such as grasshoppers and birds. Example for decomposers are bacteria and fungi. Secondary. The secondary consumers obtain their energy from the herbivores. In the same way, the herbivores obtain their energy from the green plants. The carnivores use some of the digested herbivore tissue for new cell tissue in producing some individual. The carnivore also called a meat eater. For example, for carnivores is lion, wolf, cheetah, and leopard. The energy available to the carnivore is much less than that is taken by the herbivores. Energy in the material that proved indigestible to the herbivore is gone, and so large amount of energy used by the herbivore in their own maintenance. Tertiary consumer feed for the secondary consumer, and next order to consumer, if there's any in the ecosystem, feed on tertiary consumers. That's all. Thank you and God bless.